Subscribe to the Mystic Vibrations Shock of the Hour program today and never miss another episode. The Shock of the Hour is a Radio Anu exclusive program produced every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. By now, I am sure that you are aware that all our programs are packed with information, inspiration, mystic vibrations, as well as hot button topics. Every evening we enter into a different dimension, even if it is a part 2 of the previous program, whether it's history or mystery, biology or philosophy, domestic affairs or the locks of your hair. The mystic vibration is sure to bring something new and interesting to the table every evening. So never miss another episode again. Subscribe to the Shock of the Hour now. And don't forget your key Swahili word of the day and your daily scientific fact. So, to subscribe, give us an email, priestisaac27@gmail.com, or call or WhatsApp us today. Area code 1268-728-3162. The Shock of the Hour. Never miss another program. And a special note to all our new subscribers. All our new subscribers will receive a special copy of the DVD documentary, full length, The Night of the Black Tiger, The Divinity of Marcus Messiah God. And Holy Emmanuel I, Selassie I, Jah, Rastafari. Of course, give thanks for your presence with us. The Shock of the Hour now, full effect. And we're thankful for being in the tiger's nest and all those tigers who are supping with us. Glorify the life giver and the keeper of life, Kadamawe, Haile Selassie the first. Of course, you know, the mystic vibration definitely in the realms, and again, it is just a joy that you could be with us as usual. What I wanted to do now this evening, I wanted to sort of pay attention to Haile Selassie the first for this program here. And what is so beautiful about our Negas, the Negos and Negas, is that there's so many different angles that we can take as we discuss Haile Selassie the first. As Rastafari, those of us who may say Rastafari, it is obvious that Haile Selassie the first is not only, I would say, a divine figure, but beyond divine. And at the same time, to those who may not see him exactly as we may see him, although we still have some different variations of seeing him, those who may not see him in that light still need to understand him historically. And history itself, I mean, he has been so absent from the pages of history, and information and our knowledge and acceptance in our culture, totally left out. That when you hear people speak of so-called Black History Month, and when you hear people garb of even African History Month, sometimes even when you go into African History and African Liberation Day, imagine that, African Liberation Day, you still don't hear Haile Selassie's name. That is obviously, I mean, you don't need no more proof than that to show you that this is a plot. This is well orchestrated. This is a plan to purposely leave the great monarch out of the narrative of history. And again, I'm speaking of Kadamawe. I'm speaking of Emperor Haile Selassie I. So what I would like to do is to just take a look at Haile Selassie, the man. And I will show you why I say it in that formation. Because obviously Haile Selassie is a man. I don't think there's any question there. And within that whole scope, Haile Selassie the First himself, as I said, from the Rastafari point of view, is seen in a very divine manner. At least from a human point of view, I would say very divine. I mean, all the praises we give is still nothing, you know. Filthy rags to the reality of Katamawe Haile Selassie, but on our little minuscule level, you know what I mean, we give the king enough praise, enough divinity, as we may think, you know. But when it comes to the concept of God, now, I've covered this subject just a few evenings ago. We went into the subject, I'm sure, for sure, I know there are certain people who know exactly what I'm talking about. We went into the subject as it relates to, is Haile Selassie really the Almighty? And of course, we took time, as we try to do, to explain psychologically that Almighty theory, the Almighty concept, the Most High concept, and God as flesh concept, and God concept. And, you know, we did everything so that when we, you know, ironed it out and brought it to the table on a platter, it would be palatable, really. You could chew it and digest it because it's true. You know, people say, I can't swallow that. You don't swallow things when they're not true. You have to chew. You know, it's true. You chew your food, chew. It's true. So it's true, truth. It's true. So you can swallow it as such. And we show that direct connection with Haile Selassie and the Almighty. You know, we show that direct connection with Haile Selassie and the Most High. And one could argue all day until the cows come home, but we understand science and we put it together properly, and I think our explanation is on point, really, if I really do say so myself, and I'm saying so. You know, I gotta defend the emperor, brother. You know, it's nice we can reason, but let's not play around. I gotta defend Negus and Nagas. I don't see too much people defending the king, really, you know. A lot of us, we dress up in the king's garb, and some of us, we act as if we defending the king. That's how I see it. We act as if we defending the king, Negus and Nagas, but this ain't no serious thing amongst some of us. Now, there was an interview that Haile Selassie did, and you could find it on the internet, and I'm going to use the interview itself here. I'm not going to run the interview. In fact, I just want to highlight 3 of the questions in the interview, and it's really not even an interview. It's referred to as an interview. In fact, on the internet is entitled Emperor Haile Selassie's Very Impressive Interview in the US in 1954. So that is exactly what you need as far as information if you want to get directly to it. But yet still, the interview, as I'm referring to it as, was more like a question and answer session where Haile Selassie took questions and gave answers to students who had a series of questions on political aspects and cultural aspects of Ethiopia and certain different things, again, as it relates to Haile Selassie I, his monarchy, his governance, the United Nations. As you know, Haile Selassie I spoke at the very same United Nations on this visit, on the visit in 1963. Of course, you know, the United Nations itself was formed with Haile Selassie being one of the chief draftsmen of the whole concept of the United Nations and even the Declaration of Human Rights. So what we're going to listen to here now, this is a question that is being asked. Let me just make sure I have this correct. Okay, let me start here. Now, this may seem as if I'm making like sport with this, But this is something that I would like to highlight, as simple as it seems, and we'll just take it from there. Listen to this.
Question?
Your Majesty, since your arrival in the United States, have you sampled an American milkshake?
Okay, yes, as simple as it seems. You may say, what? Now, there are many questions I asked him, and I'm going to get to some other questions. There are many questions asked. He's asked questions on world security. He was asked questions as it relates to, independence of other countries, and him becoming involved as far as military-wise, anywhere there's aggression. So there's some key questions. And you can do your own research, as people like to say nowadays, do your own research, and listen to the interview in full. As I said, you could get it yourself on the internet, and then you could dissect whatever else you'd want to dissect. But the reason why I pulled for that is because, as I said, Haile Selassie, the man. Now, many times you would hear individuals, specifically Rastafari, and they would be quick to tell you, Haile Selassie the First was a vegan, was a vegetarian. One thing I know, Haile Selassie the First never eat meat. Haile Selassie the First don't eat, flesh or whatever the case we'd want to put to it. Now, I personally, that concrete information is not something that I personally can cite. I mean, if someone can cite it, I don't mean just talk it because they feel so. But if it's an information somebody can cite, all powers to them. In fact, there's a specific video that is done. It's right on the YouTube. I think it's entitled A Day in the Life, or Spending the Day with Haile Selassie. It's a very short video, about 30 minutes long. And in that short video documentary, there's a specific point in the documentary where you see Haile Selassie the First having lunch with his family. And you know how the royals would eat. It's almost somewhat like a buffet style kind of thing. So of course the main platter would pass around with the different variety of foods inside. Now I do not know exactly what was on that platter. I really can't say, and I'm not going to swear it's this and that, and I'm not going to swear it's not this or the other. But what I noticed is the array of colors that were in all the different sections. When I say colors, I mean colors. From purple to green and yellow and orange. And what it appeared like to me, as if I was looking at a dish of fruits and vegetables. And that is from the viewer's point of view now. I'm looking at a video where, of course, the documentary itself, the quality is not top notch, but it's good enough that you could watch it. It's not gonna make your eyes hurt you unless you have extremely sensitive eyes. But yet still, I really could not pick up what's on the menu board or the platter. I really can't. But I'm just saying this because this is very important. This is important. I know, as a Rastafari, I know why these subject areas are important. Some people may say, oh, it doesn't matter. That's your business. You can say what you want. But I'm coming from an age where on the battlefield, bullets were flying and Haile Selassie used his cape and stopped the bullets. Like one of them superhero, Captain America, would use his shield and stop the bullets. I'm coming from an age where Haile Selassie has a little dog that would turn into a lion and turn back into a dog in the sight of certain world heads of state. That's where I'm coming from. I'm coming from a stage where I know many of you as Ras would have heard of this, where the King of Kings, Negus and Nagas Haile Selassie would have drawn or drew a bird on a paper. And then the bird flew off of the paper and went into the wild blue yonder. This is where I'm coming from. And let me say something about that bird situation too. That same story can be seen of the very same Christ in the scripture, not in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, but in some of the books that were taken out, wherein the young carpenter boy, the Christ, the Iasus, would have carved a bird from wood and then breathed into the bird life, and the bird flew away. I'm coming from an age where the elders would tell you that Emperor Haile Selassie I never cut his hair. And remember coming as a youth, you know, as they would say, graduated from school and college. So I mean, as they would say, as if you need that to have common sense. Of course not. But yet still you can see that, listen man, at age 30 whatever, the king had a strong fro. At age 50 whatever, the hair was a bit lower. When the king go up in age 70s and 80s, the king leg on the fro again. What do you mean he never went to a barber? Then when you come and you learn history properly, you say, well, you're right, you know, the king never went to no barber. The king has his own personal assistant that take care of his hair. That's just a fact. And the reason why I'm saying all of this is that it's no disrespect to no one. And some of the dogmatic ones, you do not have to be offended. The reality is, coming in, especially for a lot of us, when it comes to the history and knowledge of Haile Selassie I, a lot of the history has been well marinated and well sauced up, spiced, too much salt. Sometimes we throw in the pot, meaning that we just exaggerate on the truth. And there's problem when we do that. All you got to do is leave the truth as it is. Because what will happen is that when you try to run from the reality and fix it up, it will come back to haunt you in the future. Look at this time of information and knowledge that is coming out. That certain things that we come to realize, we look at it differently because of knowledge. So the Honorable Prince Emmanuel would say, and this is the truth, before Haile Selassie came forth in 1966 to Jamaica, from the 1930s, the races, the banner that they would carry was the red, gold, and green with the red upstand. That was the banner. I'm not making an argument of which banner is the banner, you know. Remember, we did a whole program now on the banner thing and the rainbow thing and all of that. So that's not what I'm saying. I'm drawing the next point. But when they saw for themselves Haile Selassie come in the Ethiopian national plane, and they saw the national flag with their eyes, this is school, you know, man. This is knowledge. This is information before they didn't know. So they were just going off of what they believed. Maybe they saw a rainbow in the sky and they heard that Ethiopia have a red, gold, and green flag. So it got to be, you know, the rainbow. But then when they saw the emperor coming on the plane, they see that, well, this flag look a little different than our flag. You know what I mean? It's the same colors, but it's turned a different way. And this is the flag the emperor using, isn't it? All right, so most ones have stuck with that flag to this point. For whatever reason you may think it's right, wrong, that's not my point. My point is that before they didn't know. They were assuming. They thought. So they followed, let's just say, their own understanding. But then knowledge came in, and knowledge is a mystic thing for real, you know. Knowledge is a mystic thing. That's why knowledge needs to go with a little understanding or comprehension. Because a lot of people know, but they don't comprehend or understand what they know. Trust me, that's a big problem. A lot of people know, but they don't understand what they know. If you overstood what you know, the red would still stay how it was. But the knowledge came in. So you got knowledge, something you didn't know. Hey, wait, that's how they fly the flag in Ethiopia? Hey, so we have it wrong all the time. So I'm just showing you now that you're living in an age that if you are not careful, what you say can come back to haunt you. That's why you gotta be careful what you say, especially as teachers and preachers. You know, nothing wrong if you say something and a point or two may be off, and you can come back and say, "Oh, that was the wrong date" or whatever. That's one thing. But then when you start to make heavy statements, especially with passion, and then you find something else. For example, this milkshake thing now. This is what the girl was asking. Have you had the chance to taste an American milkshake? Remember, I've been around, you know. I've been around. Rastas will tell you, Haile Selassie, don't bow to no other leader. All leaders bow to Haile Selassie the first. What you call bow? When you say bow, what you mean? Because I would agree, you know. But what you talking about? What you mean? Bend down and... Don't say that, because the king do that to many leaders. What's wrong with you? I tell you, with my own eyes, I sitting with some brethren at Mount Carmel in Barbados, and we're watching a video when Emperor Haile Selassie meet Queen Elizabeth II and her mother and the rest of the crew at the train station in London. You have seen the video, and the emperor gracefully bow, take her hand. I didn't see her bow. At least not in that state there. I didn't see her bow. I ain't gonna lie. What's wrong with you? Haile Selassie is the almighty God, you know, man. Not Queen Elizabeth, you know. Okay. But that don't mean I don't see the tree. I ain't gonna try to fix it up. I ain't gotta prove nothing to nobody. I know what's going on. The emperor gracefully bow and give her the kiss of death. And if you don't feel it's the kiss of death, okay, well, you don't have to be kiss of death. On her arm, on her hand. You understand? Yeah, he did. Now I'm saying when we watching the video, a brother jump up and say that's a lie. You know, he said no, somebody paste that together to make it look so. That was a genuine video, brother. A genuine clip, newsreel, whatever it was, live and direct. But you see, this is what I'm saying, because he learned this from his elders. You know, you don't expect to see the emperor do nothing like that. He learned that from those that went before us. Now, I'm not saying that it's impossible to understand the craft. The emperor is a highly... Look, man, don't play with the king of kings, the man, Negus and Nagas. Top scientist, you know. We done covered this many times. And there are many things that can be done even on the battlefield. That situation with the bomb, that situation with the bomb, that ain't no joke neither. Someone's are upset with that because, you know, the elder, I heard that story so many different ways. All the bombs dropped in the palace ground. It wasn't even the palace. The bombs dropped in the palace ground. And the emperor ran and put his foot on the bomb and it could not explode. I'm sure you all heard it like that. Okay. Fair enough. That's not how the story go. That's not how the story go. But when some of us, even as Ras, try to highlight that that's not how the story go, we somewhat try to play down the story. That's not how the story go. But the story just as big. These bombs, yes, did not explode. And the emperor asked for them to be piled together so he could take a picture to show to the rest of the world that the Lion of Judah conquered. That is the truth. That was still a frightening scene. According to the report, I read this in which book it was. I think it's The Formative Years of Haile Selassie. If it is not that book, it is another book entitled Haile Selassie, wherein the cameraman, when he took the picture, it was in them days when you have the poof and the flashing light and the camera powder. He said when the cameraman took the picture itself, after the flash, the cameraman ran away because the tension was so high, not because the bombs drop and they didn't explode. That in itself was a miracle. But to pile them up and to put your foot on the bomb and say cheese. Yeah, it was a lot of, the Ethiopian warriors were strong and brave, but the Europeans were shaking in their boots. The cameraman ran away. So it was a dramatic scene, and it was a powerful scene. But when we spice it up as if a bomb drop and the king jump over the wall and it, like a Superman thing, and no, we didn't have to Clark Kent it out. No, we ain't gotta, no, we don't have to do that. We don't have to compare the emperor to no Superman. We don't have to compare the emperor to Jesus. We don't even have to compare the emperor to God. Because I'm telling all of you who do that, the day is gonna come that you're gonna regret you did that. Compare him to himself. He all right. You know, hear what the fella say on the documentary Footsteps of the Emperor? He was more than a man. More than a man. So it sounds nice to say ganja was found in King Solomon's grave. Now look, the argument so heavy now about King Solomon's grave now. But ganja was found in King Solomon's grave. The man have to be careful with them kind of talk. You sure about that? I mean, it sound nice. It sound nice. And Solomon represents the Grand Master, and the Grand Master, don't hear me good, no man. And according to the philosophy of this craft, there is a tree. They say it's the cassia tree or the acacia tree that grows out of the grave of the Grand Master Hiram Abiff. So, I mean, wherever that came from, there is some sense of reality in it, so I don't throw that away. But when you say ganja was found in King Solomon's grave, you mean you can go to Tel Aviv or Jerusalem in Israel and find the grave with the ganja? Maybe somebody done thief it. You know, you go with them ganja thief, they're quick to move, you know what I mean, with the ganja plant. But that's not it. That's not it. So if there's truth to that, that's not it. This is what I'm trying to show you. You don't have to be upset with me, man. I don't come with no mystifying teaching. Yes, it's the mystic vibration, but my mystic is real mystics, no spooky vibes. I like to keep it real. So the woman asked the king now about the milkshake. If he drink any of the milkshake yet. And I'm telling you, I'm sure that there are races that would hear this who may not have you, let's just say you never heard this interview. And if I ask you, do you think the king ever drink milkshake? You would say no. Now, I mean, if it's no, if you say no and it's not no, nothing wrong. You thought, nothing wrong. But we don't just thought, you know. We don't thought. We push. Some of us, we even upset when people don't look at things like us. You're going to have someone, let me not call no one no names, but you're going to have people that comment on this work that we're doing right now, upset with us. That's why I say some of them is just pretenders. And say, oh, you're teaching people that the king drink milk. The king was 100% vegan. You read it here or there or wherever.
ሚልክሼክ የሚባለውን መጠጥ ቀምሰዋለሁ የአሜሪካ ሀገር ከመጣሁ
እዚህ ከመጣሁ ገና አልቀመስኩም፣ ግን ኤርትራ ወታደሮቹ ሰፈር ላይ ቀምሼ በጣም ወድጀዋለሁ።
He has not tasted milkshake here in America, but he tasted the milkshake in the military base in Asmara, northern Ethiopia, and he
Now, he has not tasted the milkshake here in America, but he has tasted the milkshake. I think he said tasted. That's right, tasted. But he has tasted the milkshake in Asmara, northern Ethiopia. And then somebody's going to jump, well, you know, the Ethiopians have a kind of tradition, you know, I mean, I sure that milkshake was made from Ethiopian cow's milk. Because remember the Ethiopian, hold on. No, don't change the subject. You don't have to get defensive. Just get real. Now, this is why I say, and I just said at the beginning of this program, that I see a platter, when I see the king platter, all I see is colorful things. That I know meat don't have them colors there. Even red, I know they say Ethiopians eat a lot of red meat, but even the red, they have from your beet to other, you know, vegetables. And even if meat was on the platter, I'm telling you, it was filled with fruits and vegetables for lunch. That's the emperor I'm talking about. In the same video, Footsteps of the Emperor, and I take note. One of the ladies was speaking of when she was young and she was dining with the emperor, that she remember she was eating with gold, you know, gold knives and forks and all of that. And she said she remembered the screech her knife made while she was trying to cut up her potatoes and peas. Potatoes and peas. That's what I gather from what she said they were eating. I don't know if anything else. So I mean, just as a student, I'm picking up these different things. There's a documentary I'm working on, the Shah. Will the real King of Kings stand up? In that documentary, you will see the big banquets that the big banquet that the Shah of Iran had, and they had a roast duck and goat head, and I mean the whole thing. And when the King of Kings dined with the head of states, what you think is vegetarian food on the table? You think it's vegetarian food on the table? No, man. Suckling pig with apple in his mouth and all them kind of things on the table. But of course, we are fulfilling scriptures. He that sat and dined with publicans and sinners. And at the same time, Haile Selassie I himself says he doesn't partake of tobacco, alcohol, or drugs. You can see that in one of the excerpts in the back of the book known as The Mission, written by, what's his name, Hans Lockhart. The Mission. The emperor clearly says he drinks not alcohol. But yet still at all these engagements with all these head of states is champagne and wine, you know. Even that same documentary we're putting together, we'll be showing you clips. They brought in the best wine from here, there, and everywhere for this so-called coronation of the Shah of Iran. You understand? And they have many, many videos where the emperor toasts and take his sip as well and sit back down. Now, I'm not telling you the king is sipping no wine. The king himself say he do not partake of alcohol. You know, I'm a teacher, you know. I'm a teacher. I'm not a convincer. I am not an indoctrinator. I don't know if I'm making up some words here. And I'm not a shove it down your throat neither. I'm a teacher. And I like people to think. That's how I have reached where I, you know, reach on my plane of consciousness, because I think for myself. I don't just follow what people say. And there's no J in this language and all of that. I don't just follow you because you say so. Or Africa is upside down. I don't follow nobody with that. I challenge anybody. I challenge anybody to prove to me that Africa is upside down. Because the river Nile flow from out of Ethiopia down into Kemet. That ain't no good enough point. No disrespect, because some of my elders who I esteemingly respect are here pushing this. In fact, it comes from them. I love them very much. We can all make mistakes, I'm sure I do. But Africa ain't no upside down. And the globe is not upside down. You know, when you show these upside down Africas as if you're giving this mighty lecture, you're distorting the power of that face, that side profile of Mother Africa, Father Africa, with the horn of the unicorn and the Madagascar pipe, and the whole brain structure, the Lake Tana, the Lake Victoria, the eye and the pineal gland, and the Mediterranean at the top, where they meditate and the Kundalini energy hitting through the brow to the top of the crown chakra. That can be seen in the river structure. The Niger River, the Zambezi and all of that when you look at the map of Africa. But when you turn it upside down, you just distort that. And even if there's a science with it turned the other way, I'm telling you, when you utilize the pattern of the heavens and the constellation, Africa is turned correctly. I'm not saying that to bring up no which way Africa is turned argument. I'm bringing up that to show you I don't just follow what people say. I think for myself critically, and I notice a lot of people do not do that. A lot of people do not do that. Some people ask me questions, I don't give them the answer one time. I'm telling you straight, you may be one. I don't just tell you yes or no. You need to think a little more critically than you do. Sitting and feeding, nah. So when the chef is gone, you can't even prepare a meal for yourself. Not into that. So the emperor say he don't drink no alcohol. And they serving alcohol at the banquet where he's sitting down. And I'm not sitting next to him, but I see he pick up the glass and drink too. And I know the emperor is talking the truth. You gotta think, work around it. Then you can bring up, oh, maybe he have his own. Well, it's up to you. Try to fit it in. Try to fit it in. You know, very, very important. Now, let's hear a little more about the milkshake.
He liked it very much.
And he liked it very much. So what you're going to tell me, the emperor is not telling the truth? He didn't drink the milkshake? And I'm just saying before I leave this point, some of us, we would be, you know, hard pressed to force it down your throat that the emperor don't drink no milk. He's 100. I hear people say that all the time, you know, as Ras. We like to say that because we are 100% vegetarian. We don't eat cheese and we don't drink milk. And we don't drink no blood. And all them kind of things. You may say, oh, I drink blood. In certain African tradition, you go and visit them people, they offer you a bucket of blood, a calabash of blood. And in many cases, you can't tell. Well, I could tell them that for sure, because I ain't drinking no blood. But I'm just showing you, the weak amongst us, I mean, you can hardly tell them anything. You got to just do what they say. You got to drink the blood. South Africa has some different traditions. The Ethiopians, yeah, do eat their raw meat. But you know, the emperor never did that. No, man. Never, ever, ever. Vegetarian from birth to him. Yeah. I want to continue with this, you know, on a groovy level, looking at Haile Selassie, the man.
I'm sure that we could probably arrange before the emperor leaves Washington to have a milkshake for him. Let's see, we have a question here, or your question?
Now, this question here now, I just want to kind of meditate on this question and the answer as well.
Go ahead.
Your Majesty, my name is Edward Sharp, and I would like to know how far back you can trace your ancestry.
መጀመሪያው ከሰሎሞን ከተወለደው ከምኒልክ ልጅ ጀምሮ ለመቁጠር ይቻላል።
The ancestry of His Imperial Majesty goes back to the first, Menelik the first son of Solomon and Queen of Sheba.
Your question.
Your Majesty.
Oh, hold on. That's it? Okay. That was quick. Your Majesty, how far back can you trace your ancestry?
So we have a question here, or your question? Go ahead.
Your Majesty, my name is Edward Sharp, and I would like to know how far back you can trace your ancestry.
Now, what I found interesting about that question is that he asked, how far back can you trace your ancestry? Like, well, how far back? Now, there have been cases where Haile Selassie would speak about being a descendant of Ori. Some say that Ori is the 33rd descendant of Adam. But in this case, he was asked, how far back can you trace your ancestry?
መጀመሪያው ከሰሎሞን ከተወለደው ከምኒልክ ልጅ ጀምሮ ለመቁጠር ይቻላል።
The ancestry of His Imperial Majesty goes back to the first Menelik the first son of Solomon and Queen of Sheba.
The ancestry of His Imperial Majesty goes back to Menelik the first, son of King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba. Now again, the question was, how far back can you trace your ancestry? So obviously that means, at what point do you stop? That maybe you don't know no more. Well, I know as far as here, I'm not too sure what's behind the village or the vale, pardon me, or down in the valley or over the hill. I'm not too sure. Oh yeah, even beyond the village. How far? And he answered, Menelik the first. As if Menelik the first is the answer, son of Solomon and Sheba. Because I'm saying to myself now, okay, the answer could have been, now this is me now, I can't answer for Negus and Nagas, but I'm saying to myself now, the answer could have been the ancestry of His Majesty, and this is how it's answered to you. The ancestry of His Majesty. That doesn't sound like an interpretation. It sounds like the man is saying, well, this is what he said, in a sense, like, well, the ancestry of His Majesty goes back, to Menelik the first. But I'm saying it could have been, and correct me if I'm wrong, the ancestry of His Majesty goes back to Solomon, the son of King David and Bathsheba. Mystic, isn't it? It could be the ancestry of His Majesty goes back to David, the son of Jesse and David's mother. Because, he may not say as Jesse, but, the Davidic throne, the Solomonic dynasty, Menelik the Ethiopian. So these are some key figures. So we all know that Solomon's father is David. I don't know if the answer would just furnish, obviously, because, he could say he goes all the way back to Adam. But then that's where all came from then now, isn't it? This is some interesting stuff. So our ancestry goes back to Solomon, or I should say Menelik the first, son of Solomon and Queen of Sheba. Now, okay, let's not meditate too hard on the other names that could have been included that we know come before Solomon and why it stayed at Solomon. Obviously, he parked there, Solomon. I would repeat, no David mentioned, which came before Solomon. Okay, good enough. But listen to this. The emperor clearly mentioned Solomon. Now there's this documentary that is on the YouTube. It comes from CCGTV. That's what you call it, CGTV. When it speaks about the whole aspect of Faces of Africa. Yes, Faces of Africa. You could check it out. Faces of Africa. It's 2 parts. Yeah, 2 parts. A nice documentary, I must say. And it's speaking about Haile Selassie. You get accounts from those who worked with the emperor and knew him as they were little children at the time. So it's a very nice documentary. You get the authentic Ethiopian outlook on Haile Selassie. No bangaranga, no propaganda, no mama guy, and these are some kind of local words we use. I don't know if you're au fait with them, but no mama guy and no bangaranga, none of them kind of things there. Yeah. So in that documentary, the narrator says, now, not anybody else, the narrator was saying that the whole concept of Haile Selassie coming from Solomon, he was from Solomon and Sheba, but he disavowed, that's the right term, he disavowed this concept to high officials and close friends, meaning that he would show them, well, that's not really true. That's what he says in the documentary. The whole concept of him being from the lineage of Solomon and Sheba. You could watch the documentary for yourself. The narrator says that the emperor disavowed, if that's the right term. But if it's not, please pardon the grammar. But the point is, he was showing them that, hey, this is not really the case, This is maybe something we use and all of that. We did a program with Brother Isern recently. And of course, that came up strong in the discussion. The whole concept of the Lion of Judah symbol. We ourselves did a presentation on YouTube, which I'm still encouraging ones to watch. I must say, let me bring this in here. It's sad sometimes to see, again, that we don't take knowledge seriously. Let me warn some of you, Let me warn you. I don't want to waste too much energy with certain people, but let me warn you, I'm not no child. Some people just send me some dumb emails and make some weird comments. Some of these comments, I erase them because I have people that are students seeking for knowledge. And although I do not like to block people's idea, some of them is just way off. You understand? This fella the other day asking me something, what kind of Bobo Shanti are you? Don't you know? Telling me something about the Solomonic lineage and don't you know? And there's none before Haile Selassie and don't you? I don't know what you talking about. What you talking about? I take my time to cipher out the information that you see me bring. And if you take your time, you could see that some of the weird comments some of you talking about, I have covered these things in detail. I had Brother Ras Isern, my brother and an elder to me, on my program, and I gave him an opportunity to make a presentation. And I'm not ashamed to say he made a good presentation. What did the brother say that was off? And he was showing you from his point of view what he felt of the speech but His Royal Highness Prince Hermes gave. And I would say for sure, Prince Hermes really sounded as if he was saying what Ras Isern said he was saying. I myself did an episode on YouTube on the speech given by Prince Hermes. And I highlighted similar things from what it appears to me that, Prince Hermes is expressing. That even down to the Solomonic dynasty that we speak of biblically, there is a lot of myth behind of it. And it's not as historically credible as many of us think. That's the impression that I am getting from Prince Hermes. You understand? And that's the impression. You see, some of us, we're not open-minded, and we still want to believe that the king ain't got no barber. So we'll just go for that. Yeah. The thing with the king drawing the bird and it fly off, it just came back to my mind. I didn't touch it. You know what I'm saying? Meditate. That don't mean Prince Hermes knows every single thing. I never say he's the God Almighty. In fact, speaking of the God Almighty, the woman just asked the emperor. The woman just asked the emperor, or the man, pardon me, just asked the emperor how far back you can trace your ancestry. And the king went as far back as Solomon. The emperor just said so. The emperor just said so. And I am saying that he just said that he didn't drink the milkshake in America, but he drank a milkshake in Aswan. Is he lying? Is he making that up? Does he disavow that to other people when he meet them like, hey, me never really drink no milkshake? No, I just said that. No, I personally want to know. Where do we draw the line? And no one need to be upset, because this is just a genuine question. If you're going to say that the emperor is saying he's of the lineage of Solomon, but he's really not, for other reasons, whether it be Solomon don't exist, or he not really related to Solomon, or whatever it is that you come to the table with, if he is saying that for one reason, but it's not true. So when he says, well, you know, he didn't have the milkshake in America, but he had it at the base in Aswan. And that's the question right after. Where did the switch take place? Is the emperor a liar? Now, no one need to be upset. Nobody. Some ones, when you say these things, they get angry right away. So why are you angry? You're bringing something to the table that most of us never really thought of. You're saying that Solomon doesn't exist. You're saying that Haile Selassie is not really of the lineage of Solomon. You're the one telling us this. Me personally, I could sit and listen to this because you have done your research and you're showing what you consider to be evidence. So I'm listening. I'm a student. I'm a master student. So now the student is saying, okay, teacher, but listen to what the emperor said. A man just asked the emperor, and we played. We didn't even read it in a book. We played. How far do you trace your ancestry? And the emperor said to Solomon. You can't get upset with me. If you upset, that means you can't answer the question properly. Because anybody that say that the emperor not related to Solomon, even Prince Hermes himself, anybody that say the king is not of the lineage of David, they would have to explain properly why he say that. Don't just tell me that a man on a documentary, the narrator, I don't even know the narrator's name, say the king disavow this, to this and this and that. That ain't good enough, not in my book. Now this is me. And I'm sure most of you, especially when we come to subscribers, you know that we have covered so many subject areas. And if you just plug these things together, the answer is there. As I even asked my good brother, but then the emperor must have a lineage. It must have a lineage. He must be related to somebody. Now who's Solomon? There's a Solomon in Jerusalem that built a temple that they destroyed in 70 AD. If that's the Solomon you're talking about, I totally agree. The king ain't related to that Solomon. Because that Solomon, that's one of them characters that don't exist. But as I said again, even before they issued out or ushered certain artifacts out of the tomb of Tutankhamun, it was extremely necessary for the emperor to visit that complex first. One of the first people to go in there, and I honestly believe the first head of state to visit the tomb of Tutankhamun after they so-called discovered it. All of this is very important. We have issued a book, The True Biblical Land of Israel. I mean, certain arguments and conversation, you can't just bring it up to me and you've never gone through that manuscript. I still hear people saying the same old up to today as if we never wrote the book, which I don't have a problem. I could listen to anyone, but don't try to attack me with no dead argument. I don't care who you are. I don't care what kind of race you be. Don't try to attack me. Because you don't know where Jerusalem really is. When the Bible clearly says, from the river Euphrates to the Great Sea, the whole position of Jerusalem and Bethlehem is totally different. So the ruling seat of power is not the ruling seat of power that you may keep in your mind as it relates to the biblical narrative. And this is why I would say again, even when we take language, remember we did a whole documentary about the Freemasonic connection as it relates to Haile Selassie I. Even doing that, people say I blaspheme as if I care what they think. I mean, give me a break. Them is little thinking. We're speaking of the greatest organization of chivalry in the Freemasonic world. I'm talking of the Knights of the Garter. And because we are not in a position to handle the reality of his connection with it, and it's not just the Knights of the Garter, we can go into the accolades that were also given, and they all, most of them, have a touch of Freemasonic vibration added to them. But yet still, because of dogma, because of somewhat religious belief, we are quick to say that, oh, Haile Selassie is not a Mason. And even me, personally, I would be happy to say that. In fact, because I understand his presence with us and the position that he holds amongst us, and I would say the position he held, because that time is a different time than this time. Because of that position held, I could specifically say that the king is bigger than any masonry. This is not even the position of the Grand Master. We're talking about the great architect himself. And this is where knowledge, again, would meet understanding. So this is something that I continually try to highlight, the importance of understanding as it relates to the reality of the man, Kadamawe Haile Selassie I. Now, I wanted to highlight also another question that was asked. And in this question here, there was just a specific comment that I found interesting at the end of the answer, and just listen and you'll see for yourself.
What is the most important thing small nations can do for the promotion of world peace?
ትናንሽ መንግስቶች የዓለም ሰላም እንዲፈላ ማድረግ የሚችሉት ምንድን ነው?
የዓለም ሰላም የሚጸናው አሁን የተጀመረው የዩናይትድ ኔሽን ስራ በብርታት የተሰራ እንደሆነና ለሰው ልጅ ሁሉ ሰልፍሽነት የቀረ እንደሆነ ነው።
The best thing that small nations can do for the United Nation, for the peace of the world, is to follow the principles of the United Nations effectively, and also if all nations give up selfishness.
All nations give up selfishness. Yes. I think that's very...
Now, obviously you heard there, selfishness. Now, the question itself obviously being quite diplomatic, the question itself being of the state of nations against nations and all of that. But what you notice now, if you listen good, as I said, you could visit the internet specifically. Emperor Haile Selassie, Emperor Haile Selassie's very impressive interview in the US, 1954. And I've noticed something here that I don't usually hear from the niggas. Now, after he answers the question, being that the nations are encouraged to give up selfishness, at the end, the individual that is coordinating the interview, he makes mention of selfishness, and you would hear the emperor replied, "Yeah." Now listen good.
Of the United Nations effectively, and also if all nations give up selfishness.
All nations give up selfishness.
Yes.
Now, obviously, that would have to be a key point. Because, well, remember, you got to take it from me, as an individual that would have studied this, studied the different interviews and studied the speeches. And after an answer is given, remember when we showed the clash that took place in the 1970s with Paul VI, and the diplomacy, if you go and you revisit, for those who obviously know that as well is on the YouTube, if you revisit that, you would understand the protocols of democracy and diplomacy that goes along with these interviews. So the question was answered. And obviously the individual that is hosting the event, he himself, he caught wind of that whole concept of selfishness. And the emperor now, if you notice, came back into the light and said, yeah, selfishness. So now, in the Caribbean, we have this phrase we use, selfish. Like you're selling fish. And it's like mystically that there's a phrase that says that company and fish stink within 3 days. So selling fish is a real thing for real. Sell fish. He's speaking about nations amongst nations. But the thing is that you can apply that to people amongst people relationship. Now, when we did the concept of loving God as you love yourself, remember one of the things we highlighted? That, for example, myself, that whole commandment of you should love your neighbors as you love yourself. I personally, I'm not interested of nobody, at least the people that I know, loving me as they love themselves. Because most people do not love themselves. So if you're going to ask somebody to love somebody else, just like they love themselves, most of us would be in problem. In fact, I honestly feel that we are fulfilling that commandment. Most people love each other like they love themselves, because most of us do not love ourselves. We may like ourselves. That's why a person cannot even look into the mirror, look into their own eyes, and tell themselves, I love you. When I say that to a crowd, people get bashful and giggle as if there's something funny about that. Not I love myself, Communicate with yourself and tell yourself, I love you. Because again now, that is the fulfillment for those who can remember, and I know all the subscribers can recall, the first commandment, to love the Almighty with all your heart. But then now, all of these great avatars, all of the messiahs, all of the Christ figures, they all taught us that this Almighty is within us. This Almighty is inside of you. Where is heaven? The kingdom of heaven is within you. Be ye perfect as your Father who is in Zion is perfect. Moses, be ye holy as your Father who is in heaven is holy. So therein now, within you, the structure, you yourself, the oracle, the vessel, life itself represents the God figure. So once you are practicing life and you have life, you are in the land of the living and the God dwells within you. So showing love to that God within you specifically is also fulfilling that first commandment. And fulfilling the first commandment is necessary to fulfill that second commandment. Because if you don't love the God within you, and remember again, loving the God within you is not liking yourself. It's loving yourself, because you cannot give someone water if you don't have no water. You cannot love nobody as you love yourself. At least you're not going to love them in a good way. That's just the reality of it. Now, so in the same way now, this is why the emperor is burning out selfishness. Why am I using the term burning out? Because I noticed at the end of the speech, they say, well, the host says, selfishness, interested, and you hear the emperor in his lion roar say, yeah, selfishness, as if he's just plugging it in like, yeah. It's emotions. We all have emotions. You say something and somebody say, oh, I get what you're saying. So you're trying to say, it's blue. Exactly. So that is the emotion that the emperor is expressing. I don't see him express it in any of the other questions that he answered, meaning that he burned out selfishness then. That's the point I'm making. And a lot of us, we are selfish. Yeah, we don't realize it. But we are a selfish people, and we think to show that we're not selfish, we have to do something that we've been taught to do maybe by the outside world. Like, you give somebody a gift on the birthday, or you give somebody that beg you a dollar, you contribute to this or that or the other. Not necessarily so. Not necessarily so. Selflessness is when you give your life for a cause that is greater than yourself. How many of us are giving our life for a cause that is greater than ourselves? How many? Let me see the hands. Let me hear hope. Most of us know. You may be giving your life for a great cause, but is it greater than yourself? Remember, you are a God figure, So you got to find a cause that is extremely great for me to say you're giving your life for a cause that is greater than yourself. Yeah. So the king do not like selfishness. The king believe in love. Let's love one another. Care for one another. And, it's not just talking it. Your mission in life should reflect it. Everybody can't be the same thing. Everybody can't do the same thing. But your mission in life should reflect it. And whatever your mission is, even if it has an economic price tag to it, the fact that it is an act of love, the lack of economy or the lack of money should not inhibit this labor of love from reaching who it needs to reach. Yeah, because some of us, we labor in love and then we turn our labor in love into a business. Nothing wrong with that. But then it gets so business-wise that those that really need it, who don't got the business, in their own pockets, they can't really get it. That's sad. Selfishness creeps in. I noticed the emperor don't like selfishness. Give thanks for such a creator. Yeah, if you know your Bible and you do not know your history, the knowledge of your Bible will become a mystery. And of course, it takes some real eyes to realize the real lies that are amongst us. Haile Selassie, Jah Rasta. Subscribe to the Mystic Vibrations Shock of the Hour program today and never miss another episode. The Shock of the Hour is a radio and exclusive program produced every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. By now, I am sure that you are aware that all our programs are packed with information, inspiration, mystic vibrations, as well as hot button topics. Every evening, we enter into a different dimension, even if it is a part 2 of the previous program, whether it's history or mystery, biology or philosophy, domestic affairs or the locks of your hair. The mystic vibration is sure to bring something new and interesting to the table every evening. So never miss another episode again. Subscribe to the Shock of the Hour now. And don't forget your key Swahili word of the day and your daily scientific fact. So, to subscribe, give us an email, priestisaac27@gmail.com, or call or WhatsApp us today. Area code 1268-728-3162. The Shock of the Hour. Never miss another program. And a special note to all our new subscribers. All our new subscribers will receive a special copy of the DVD documentary, full length, The Night of the Black Tiger, The Divinity of Marcus Messiah God. Alafia to each and every one. Salamta and blessed love. Honorable Priest Isaac here. It is with great joy that I am happy to announce to you that I have officially released my first ebook, Anno Ancient and Modern Revisited. This is the continuation process of our easy-to-read books. Within the pages of Anno Ancient and Modern Revisited, we take the time to show you the spiritual connection with the island of Antigua and Heliopolis in Kemet in Egypt, with the island of Antigua and the legendary continent of Atlantis. We also highlight Green Castle Hill, also known as Mount Anu, which is known as the Stonehenge of the Caribbean, with the countless of megaliths that align with the movements of the heavens. This is a must-read for all those who are students of the esoteric realms, astronomy, geology, and ancient sites. Of course, to get a copy of your book, all you have to do is to contact us at area code 1268-728-3162. Call, text, or even WhatsApp. Or you can email us at priestisaac27@gmail.com to get a copy of your ebook, Anno Ancient and Modern. It is an easy to read book. It may appear light, but it is extremely heavy. Listen.